Canto 3, Chapter 21, Text 44. Tat eva harine krodeha svavid gav aya kunjareha gopucher haribir marker na kuler na bibir vritam.
Its shores abounded with deer, boars, porcupines, gavayas, elephants, baboons, lions, monkeys, mongooses, and musk deer.
Text 45 to 47. Pravishya tattirthavaram adi rajaha sahatmajaha tad arsamunim asinam tasmin huta hutasanam vidyotamanam vapusa tap asi ugra yujachiram natiksa Mam Bhagavataha Snigdha Pangavalokanata Tadvyahratamratakala Piyusha Shravanena cha Pramsum Padma Palaksaksam Jatilam Chiravasasam Upasamsrityamalinam Yatharhanam Asamskritam.
Entering that most sacred spot with his daughter and going near the sage, the first monarch, Swayambhuva Manu, saw the sage sitting in his hermitage, having just propitiated the sacred fire by pouring oblations into it. His body shone most brilliantly, though he had engaged in austere penance for a long time. He was not emaciated, for the Lord had cast his affectionate sidelong glance upon him, and he had also heard the nectar flowing from the moon-like words of the Lord. The sage was tall, his eyes were large, like the petals of a lotus, and he had matted locks on his head. He was clad in ranks. Swayambhuva approached and saw him to be somewhat soiled, like an unpolished gem.
Text 48. Athotajam upayatam nridevam pranatam puraha sab aryaya paryagrahnat pratina andya nurupaya.
Seeing that the monarch had come to his hermitage and was bowing before him, the sage greeted him with benediction and received him with due honor.
Text 49. Grahitarhanam asinam samyatam prinayanan muniha smaran bhagavata desham iti ahaslaksnaya gira.
After receiving the sage's attention, the king sat down and was silent. Recalling the instructions of the Lord, Kardamma then spoke to the king as follows, delighting him with his sweet accent.
Text 50. Nunam chan kramanam deva satam samrag sanayate vad aya cha satam yastvam hare saktir hipalini.
The tour you have undertaken, O Lord, is surely intended to protect the virtuous and kill the demons, since you embody the protecting energy of Sri Hari.
51. Yorkendva agindra vayunam yam adharma prachetasam रूपाणि स्थान अथत्से तस्मै शुक्लायते नमः.
When necessary, you assume the part of the sun god, the moon god, Agni, the god of fire, Indra, the lord of paradise, Vayu, the wind god, Yama, the god of punishment, Dharma, the god of piety, and Varuna, the god presiding over the waters. All obeisances to you, who are none other than Lord Vishnu.
Text 54 to 52 to 54. Nayadaratham ashtaya jaitram mani ganarpitam vispurjak chandalakodando rat ena trasayan aghana स्वसैन्यचरणाक्षुं वेपेयन्मण्डलं भुवः विकर्षन्मृतिं सेनं पर्यात् असीयं सुमम् इव तदेव सेतव सर्वे वर्णाश्रमाणि बन्धनाः भागवत रचिता राजन् पीड्येरन्वा तदस्युभिः.
If you did not mount your victorious jeweled chariot, whose mere presence threatens culprits, if you did not produce fierce sounds by the twanging of your bow, and if you did not roam about the world like the brilliant sun, leading a huge army whose trampling feet caused the globe of the earth to tremble, then all the moral laws governing the Varunas and ashramas created by the Lord Himself would be broken by the rogues and rascals.
Text 55. Adharmascha samedeta lolupera vyankusera nirbihi sayena tvai lokoyam dashugrasto vinansyati.
If you gave up all thought of the world's situation, unrighteousness would flourish. For men who hanker only after money would be unopposed. Such miscreants would attack, and the world would perish.
Text 56. Athapi prache tvam vira yad artham tvam mihagataha tatvayam nirva likena pratipat ati pratip atyamaherada.
In spite of all this, I ask you, O valiant king, the purpose for which you have come here, whatever it may be, we shall carry it out without reservation.
Please forgive for any mistakes. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Oops.
Hare Krishna. Prabhuji, are you there, please? Krishna Govinda Prabhuji.
Yeah, sorry, I was just trying to unmute myself and start my video. Just wanted to make sure. Hare Krishna, everyone. How's everyone? I just share the screen and just let me know if you can see it.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. We can see your screen. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Om Namo Shri Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone, for joining in today's chat class. Today's the 9th of November, 2025. And today we're going to be reading from Canto 3. Sorry, beg your pardon. Yep, Canto 3, the status quo. Chapter 21, Conversations between Manu and Kadama. And the verses that we're going to read today is 52 and 56. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskripcha Naram Chaiva Narotanam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayam Nastashvu Bhadreshu Nitya Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavata Mutam Shloke Bhakti Bhavati Naishtaki. So, Canto 3, Chapter 21, verses 52 to 54. First of all, I'd like to say thank you to Namrata Mataji for the Sanskrit. and Dijit Prabhu for the English translation. Thank you very much. Nayadarathamastaya Jaitra Maniganapitam Vishwarja Gachando Kodando Ratena Trashyamagan Swasenya Charanashuna Vipayan Mandalambhava Vikashamra Timsenam Varyatasi Amsu Mamiva Tadeva Sateva Sarve Vanasham Nimandana Bhagavad Rachita Rajan Vidayaran Bhatadashubhi. Translation. Just briefly, this is a conversation between Kadamba Muni and the great king Swayambhuva Manu. So Swayambhuva Manu is actually coming to see the great sage Kadamba Muni because he sort of recognizes an intention for him to get married, even though he doesn't need to. So he comes along with his wife and his daughter Devahuti. So now Kadamba Muni is actually glorifying Swayambhuva Manu. If you did not mount your victorious jewel chariot, whose mere presence threatens culprits, if you did not produce fierce sounds by the twanging of your bow, and if you did not roam around the world like the brilliant sun, leading a huge army whose trampling feet cause the globe of the earth to tremble, then all the moral laws governing the varnas and ashrams created by the Lord himself will be broken by the rogues and rascals. Purport by His Divine Grace, I say Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. It is the duty of a responsible king to protect the social and spiritual orders in human society. The spiritual orders are divided into 4 ashrams: Brahmacharya, Grihastha, Vanaprasth, and Sannyas. And the social orders, according to work and qualification, are made up of the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Sudras. The social orders, according to the different grades of work and qualification, are described in Bhagavad Gita. Unfortunately, for want of proper protection by responsible kings, the system of social and spiritual orders has now become a hereditary caste system. But this is not the actual system. Human society means that society which is making progress towards spiritual realization. The most advanced human society was known as Arya. Arya refers to those who are advancing. So the question is, which society is advancing? Advancement does not mean creating material necessities necessarily, and thus wasting human energy and aggravation for so-called material comforts. Real advancement is advancement towards spiritual realization. The community which acted towards this ends was known as the Aryan civilization. The intelligent men, the Brahmanas, as exemplified by Kadamba Muni, were engaged in advancing a spiritual cause. And Kshatriyas like Emperor Swayambhuva Manu used to rule the country and ensure that all facilities for spiritual realizations were nicely provided. It is the duty of the king to travel all over the country and see that everything is in order. Indian civilization on the basis of the 4 varnas and ashrams deteriorated because of our dependency on foreigners, for those who did not follow the civilization of an ashram. Thus, the varnashram system has now been degraded into the caste system. The institution of 4 varnas and 4 ashrams is confirmed herewith to be Bhagavad Rachita, which means designed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In Bhagavad Gita, this is also confirmed Chatur Varnyam Maya Shishtam. The Lord says that the institution of the 4 varnas, 4 ashrams, is created by me. Anything created by the Lord cannot be closed or covered. The divisions of varnas and ashrams will continue to exist, either in the original form or in the degraded form. But because they are created by the Lord, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, they cannot be extinguished. They are like the sun, creation of God, and therefore will remain. Either covered by clouds or in clear sky, the sun will continue to exist. Similarly, when the Varnashram system becomes degraded, it appears as a hereditary caste system, but in every society, there is an intelligent class of men, a martial class, a mercantile class, and a labor class. When they are regulated for cooperation among communities according to the Vedic principles, then there is peace and spiritual advancement. But when there is a hatred and malpractice, a mutual mistrust in the caste system, the whole system becomes degraded. And as stated herein, it creates a deplorable state. At the present moment, the entire world is in this deplorable condition because of given rights to so many interests. This is due to degradation of the full cause of varnas and ashrams. So just before I go to verse 55, I'll recite the Mangala Charan prayers. Please join in. Om Jnana Timrandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmalitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Mano Vishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rapakada Mayan Tadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakamitam Sha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagapate Gopisha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sata Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha kalpa tarubhyasya kripa sindhubhyaiva cha patitanam panebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namah. Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I'll just read this verse again. Translation: If you did not mount your victorious dual chariot, whose mere presence threatens culprits, you did not produce fair sounds by the tragedy of your bow, and if you did not roam about the world like the brilliant sun, leading a large army whose trampling feet caused the globe of the earth to tremble, then all the moral laws governing the varnas and ashrams created by the Lord himself would be broken by the rogues and rascals. So here Kadama Muni is glorifying Swayambhuva Manu, who's actually the progenitors of mankind. And if I just share the recitation or the verse glorifying Swayambhuva Manu by Kadama Muni in the previous verse, it just shows you how important Swayambhuva Manu was. When necessary, you assume the part of the sun god, the moon god, Agni, the god of fire, Indra, the lord of paradise, Vayu, the wind god, Yama, the god of punishment, Dharma, the god of piety, and Varuna, the god presiding over the waters, all obeisances to you who are none other than Lord Vishnu. So first of all, I'd like to offer my respectful obeisances to my spiritual master, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Shrimate Bhakti Charu Swami Tinamane, to his co-founder Acharya, Srila Prabhupada, Namo Vishnupadaya, Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale, Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Tinamane, Namaste Saraswati Devi, Gauravani Pachayane, Nirvishesha Sunyavadi, Paschatya Desatarane. Kindly seek their blessings and also all the blessings of the Vaishnavas listening on the wonderful glories and topics of the Supreme Personality of Godhead from the Srimad Bhagavatam and his great devotees. May whatever I say is truthful, pleasing, and beneficial, not only for yourself, the listeners, and also for myself. Thank you. So Swayambhuva Manu is a very, very important personality because it's not just an ordinary person. Although in the Bhagavad Gita mentions that Lord Krishna mentions to Arjuna, first imparted this transcendental knowledge to the sun god Vivashvan. Vivashvan instructed Manu, the father of mankind, and Manu in turn recited that same knowledge or passed that same knowledge to his son Ikshvaku. So you can see that he is not an ordinary person, but here it actually mentions that he is none other than Lord Vishnu. Now, I'm not sure if anybody on this group actually has any quotes regarding Swayambhuva being Lord Vishnu, but of course this is from the Srimad Bhagavatam, so it's not just mentioned just for the sake of it. So of course, in some ways, the devotees, because they're the pure devotees, are considered to be in one way non-different from God because they're eternal confidential servitor of the Lord. But I tried to find out specifically if Swayambhuva Manu was an incarnation of Lord Vishnu. I couldn't find anything, so just in case if anybody knows, please do share with us. But just to give you an example, Swayambhuva Manu, he actually mentions in the Puranas that he's not just an ordinary person, he's actually son of Brahma. In this case, it's actually mentioned he's a son of Brahma. So although he's a son of Brahma, there's Brahma actually lives for, as you know, billions and billions of years of human earth calculation years. So one day of Lord Brahma is considered to be 1,000 Chaturyugas. So within those 1,000 Chaturyuga, there's 14 Manus actually appear and disappear during that one day of Lord Brahma. And then each Manu consequently lives for about 71 Chaturyugas. So this Swayambhuva Manu is actually married to Shatarupa, and he has two sons. One is Priyavrata, and one is Uttampada. Uttampada, you may remember from the Srimad Bhagavatam that we were reading earlier on, was actually the father of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj, who tried to sit on the lap of his father, Uttampada, was actually blasphemed and chastised by his stepmother, who told him, you have no right to sit on the king's throne, and then he sort of cries and asks his own mother, Sunita, that my stepmother Surichi actually said this about me. What shall I do? Sunita, his mother actually says that you should go and seek out Lord Vishnu. And then as he does so, he meets Narada Muni. And of course, that's another beautiful story itself. So although Swayambhuva has two sons, Priyavrata and Uttampada, he also has three daughters. One is named Akuti, one is named Devahuti, and one is named Parsuti. So Akuti actually has a son who's actually an incarnation of Lord Krishna, and his name is Yagya Murti. And Devahuti, of course, she has a son, and his name is Kapila Muni, Kapila Dev, rather. And there is a particular book by Srila Prabhupada, The Teachings of Lord Kapila, where he talks about the qualities and the connection in the process of connected to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, as he describes all the beautiful verses to his mother Devahuti. And Parsuti, she's actually married to Daksha, and Daksha had a daughter called Sati. Sati was actually married to Lord Shiva, and you remember the story of how Sati was offended by her own father because he did not acknowledge Lord Shiva. And when Lord Shiva tried to sort of reconcile Sati, Sati still wanted to see the preparations made by the father and the family members at a time when Lord Shiva was rejected by Priyavrata not Priyavrata, Daksha, because he felt that Shiva had ignored him during the big forest before the yajna that they were preparing, inviting Lord Shiva and all the personalities. So according to the scriptures, there is a particular book called the Manu Samhita. I could find the information on the Manu Samhita. This is from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8. Swayambhuva Manu is the leader of mankind, and he has given a book called Manu Samhita to guide human society. Herein he directs us to follow the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his different incarnations. As you probably remember the beautiful song sung by Jayadev Goswami, these incarnations are described in Vedic literature, and Jayadev Goswami described 10 important incarnations in summary. Keshavadvita Meena Sharira Jai Jagadisha Hare. And then, of course, Keshavadvita Narahari Rupa Jai Jagadisha Hare. Glorified Lord Nrsimhadev. And then Keshavadvita Buddha Sharira Jai Jagadisha Hare. So Swayambhuva Manu instructs us to follow the instructions of God's incarnations, especially Krishna's instructions of Bhagavad Gita as it is. So just to explain a little bit more, but I may have accidentally deleted it. No, it's here. So Manu Samhita, I'm not sure if anybody's read the Manu Samhita. So the Manu Samhita, the description of it is the Dharma Shastra, or describes duties of the Varnas and Ashrams, as we were discussing in that particular purport and verse from the Srimad Bhagavatam. So the author is Swayambhuva Manu, and the contents of the book itself is split into 12 chapters. It covers all the different topics like creation, brahmacharya, grihastha, brahmana, grihastha. It talks about the eating habits and purification processes, which is very important in our level of cleanliness next to godliness. And it talks about vanapras and sannyas. Then it talks about the duty of a kshatriya, king, law and punishment, husband and wife. So it actually explains these are considered to be the law books of mankind, the Manu Samhita. So it talks about all the things that we should be adhering to in order to establish a Vanashram system. And here Srila Prabhupada actually emphasizes quite a lot about the importance about the Vanashram system itself. He mentions about the qualities of or the duties of the actual ashrams, brahmacharya, grihastha, vanapras, and sannyas. So most of us go through this, at least the first three in our lives. Sannyas may not be the case for every personality, but certainly there's a point where everyone who's following Krishna consciousness, they go through that stage of celibacy, and then they get married, have children, raise their children in Krishna consciousness, and go to that stage where they slightly detach themselves from family life and also become renounced to a certain degree, spending their time over surrendering to Krishna and performing duties wholeheartedly, just serving Krishna and his devotees. So normally there's a sort of an age gap, brahmacharis from 0 to 25 years, grihasthas 25 to 50 years, vanapras 50 to 75 years, and then of course sannyas. And then at the same time, along the principles of ashram, there's also the social orders as well, and that's governed by the brahmanas, the kshatriyas, the vaishyas, and the shudras. So Srila Prabhupada actually explains that right now, this particular Varnashram system is completely spoiled or not actually recognized in any way. It's turned into almost like a caste system. The reason being because some of the people in a particular hierarchy who are born, say a Kshatriya of a Kshatriya family or a Brahmana of a Brahmana family, they feel dignified that they want to be remaining or called as a Brahmana or called as a Kshatriya. They don't want to degrade themselves to become a Shudra or a Vaishya itself. So for instance, the Brahmana, they consider to be the highest level in the form of social orders. They actually follow the principles of Dharma, and the Kshatriyas, by nature, although the warriors that they protect all the society, they also go to the Brahmanas for advice, for understanding whatever the principles that they will do to rule the kingdom is done according to the books of law. As we mentioned earlier on, the Manu Samhita, Srimad Bhagavatam, as Srila Prabhupada mentioned, these are the law books for the next 10,000 years. And right now, Srila Prabhupada tried his best, his emphasis on establishing an ashram system, introduced the farm communities in different parts around the world, so people could actually live in the farm areas. Of course, devotees need to live in the cities to carry on preaching and a bit of income as well. But they also wanted the farm communities to be self-sustainable as well, taking care of the cows, taking care of the brahmanas, taking care of the families, the children, establishing Gurukul as well. And also it's important to have kshatriyas as well. It's important to protect the devotees. You may have seen the Abhishek videos where the devotees were attacked when they established New Vrindavan, and the situation became very bad when the Hells Angels came to attack the temple, tried to topple over the deity, the Lordship Srada Vrindavan Chandra, shot the devotees. There has to be some sort of way that you need to protect the devotees as well, especially now. As you know, there's so much phobia that's going on. There's Islamophobia, there's Judaism phobia, there's Hindu phobia as well. There's almost people attacking certain societies of different faiths, different beliefs, different cultures, because of the way they look, because of their beliefs, or perhaps because people just generally don't like colored people in this country, which is dominated by, say, the white majority. But of course, when we understand Krishna consciousness is not ideal to just one particular race. It's not just a Hindu sort of religion. Srila Prabhupada mentions it's a world religion. It's actually a way that we could actually surrender and love Krishna or everyone else around us just simply by following the simple processes of bhakti, devotional service, by chanting the holy name of the Lord, by showing respect to each other, by seeing the soul, which is part and parcel of Krishna, in every living entity, whether it's a plant, animal, bird, creature, human beings. We should see and treat everyone equally. So Srila Prabhupada further mentions about how society has become degraded because nowadays the Brahmanas are not the same Brahmanas that would be in the early days of mankind in the Aryan civilization, because the Aryan civilization, they wanted to ensure that everything that they did was for the benefit of spiritual realization and allowed the country to be ruled in a way that was actually respected by the authorities of the spiritual authorities, by the scriptures itself. They wouldn't do anything which is not in accordance to the scriptures at all, because they knew there would be a karmic reaction. And any karmic reaction has a multiple effect, not only on human society, but also on the rulers. If the rulers are very demoniac, if they're not actually ruling the country and leading the people in a godly society, then everyone else perishes as well. As you can see right now, there's so many political corruptions going on, unnecessarily taxes demanded from hardworking citizens just for the sake of trying to establish some sort of hierarchy, some sort of authority for themselves. But if you actually have a civilization or authority which is actually led by corrupt government, then society also degrades itself. They get that karmic reaction. Similarly, if the population commit crime, commit some offenses, commit violence, commit atrocity to other human beings, to the leaders as well, there's also a duplicity of karmic reaction to other people and also to the leaders. An example of this is like when Lord Indra actually committed several offenses and he was condemned for his actions, as was stated in the Srimad Bhagavatam. Specifically, I can't remember the detail of the offenses he made, but anyway, it was a great offense, and he had to suffer for the offenses he had made. But the karmic reaction was so great that Lord Indra was unable to take that karmic reaction. So that reaction was actually divided among himself, among other living entities, the women in particular as well. They had to take that karmic reaction. So because of somebody's fault, somebody's misunderstanding of not following the spiritual authorities, making criminal offenses against the spiritual authorities, then the reaction not only falls onto the leader, as in the case of King is, the King of Heaven, but also to the society itself. So if the kings are corrupt, if the government is corrupt, then certainly we will have to stand by the principles of religion, have to fight for ourselves as well to ensure that the corrupt government should be pushed aside and somebody who is more able to lead the society in a nice way, where people can live with each other in harmony without any phobia, without any sort of prejudice, discrimination against somebody's race, culture, creed, then certainly there will be prosperity as well. See if I've written any notes on. So if I just share Prabhupada actually mentions about in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna who actually established a Varnashram system, although it's no longer sort of in full principle. This is something Srila Prabhupada tried to create, but he mentions that even if this Varnashram society isn't there to its full extent, every society has this hierarchy where you've got somebody from the upper class, you've got somebody from, say, another class, the middle class or the warrior class. You have the working laborers or the people who just generally maintain the society or maintain everything that is meant for the society itself. But the Varnashram system was created by Krishna himself. And in the chapter 18 of Bhagavad Gita, he mentions, does anybody want to read these 4-5 verses from chapter 18, Bhagavad Gita, talking about the qualities of the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Sudras? Does anybody want to read this? Hopefully you can see this.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, yes, please. But
Yes.
all I can see are the text numbers 42, 43, and 44. Which verses would you like me to read, please?
Okay, you read all of them and then I'll scroll up till verse 45, yeah?
Okay, so I'll start with text 42. Hare Krishna, everyone. Peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness, these are the natural qualities by which the Brahmanas work. Text 43. Heroism, power, determination, resourcefulness, courage in battle, generosity, and leadership are the natural qualities of work for the Kshatriyas. Text 44. Farming, cow protection, and business are the natural work for the Vaishyas, and for the Shudras there are labor and service to others. Text 45. By following his qualities of work, every man can become perfect. Now please hear from me how this can be done. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. So basically, this actually shows you the different qualities of the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, the Vaishyas, and the Sudras. So some of you may be thinking, well, hang on a minute, if we're devotees, how can we be identified as one of those 4 categories? So when you actually read the Bhagavad Gita further on, it actually mentions that for a Vaishnava, although he's actually following this Varnashram system, but at the same time, in one way, he's slightly above it, because you could actually ask a Vaishnava to clean a toilet and he'd be happy to do that. If you ask a Vaishnava to actually carry out deity service, he can do that. So there was one story I remember. Ayendra Prabhu, everybody knows Ayendra Prabhu. He's the wonderful personality who started, well, not started, but introduced a 24-hour kirtan in Vrindavan, and it became phenomenal throughout the world. So part of his service was not only just taking care of the deity service, the 24-hour kirtan in Vrindavan, but he also used to clean the toilets in the Vrindavan temples for the brahmacharis. And that was something he was doing. And then Madhava Prabhu, one of his disciples, who actually learned how to play mridanga, singing and everything, he actually came under sort of the authority of Shripad Ayendra Prabhu. And Shripad Prabhu, he was trying to train him up in such a way so he could actually become humble in a certain degree. And he told him that he should also clean a toilet. But Madhava Prabhu, he mentioned this in his talk at Bhaktivedanta Manor. He said that he loves the kirtans, he loves playing mridanga, he loves being in the temple room singing, but he hated cleaning the toilets. And he said, no, I can't handle this, and started leaving. And then Ayendra Prabhu started to pacify him and told him, look, what is your problem? And to try to explain from a philosophical point of view about the qualities of a Vaishnava, that he doesn't sort of demean himself by doing certain things which are beyond sort of certain ability to clean toilets. Nobody wants to clean toilets, but somehow or another we need to. Heroism, once again. So anyway, so Ayendra Prabhu somehow spoke to Madhava. Madhava, then he realized that the concept of becoming a devotee, the concept of chanting the Hare Krishna holy name, isn't just purely just being at the front, just playing on the harmonium, playing mridanga, but it's also an all-rounder, doing everything possible. So you see a lot of wonderful devotees at Bhaktivedanta Manor, or any temple, that they're happy to serve the devotees, happy to clean, mop the floor, clean the showroom, clean the toilets. I know one wonderful lady devotee. She's so amazing. She's a grandmother just recently, but she does Brahmanical service, and every Janmashtami, she's happy doing the toilet cleaning, and nobody wants to do toilet cleaning. If we mentioned this to the authorities, why don't they just hire somebody to clean the toilets? Anyway, she's so happy cleaning the toilets, and I didn't ask her personally, but somebody else did, how come you doing Brahmanical service so much? You're cooking for the deities, dressing the deities, doing arati, but you're happy to do this. She was so humble about it. She says, well, this is a job I like doing. I'm doing it to serve the devotees, serve my spiritual master, serve Srila Prabhupada, make this festival a happy occasion. And to have that quality of sincerity is not easy at all, because I've been in the VIP area, and I tell you, it's so opulent, lots of samosas, lots of prasadam, lots of drinks, whatever you want to. And I've been in another service in the cow protection area, in the Goshala, in the doing videoing as well, 24 hours, going around every stall with Shuddha Dhamma Prabhu. I've been in the bazaar tent, and they're not easy service, but certainly certain service, there is sort of favorable attachment to it. And we have to let go of that attachment, because when you're actually serving the devotees, you're sort of put in a position, whatever service that you've been given, you do it. Just like Srila Prabhupada, in his early days, he used to get his disciples to go to different parts of the world, go to America, go to Japan, go to England, go to Pakistan. If your spiritual master asks you to go to Pakistan, who would actually say yes? Who would actually go to any of the Middle East countries to preach Krishna consciousness? It takes a lot of dedication, servitude, humility to actually follow the instructions of your spiritual master. Even my own spiritual master asked me to go to India, Ujjain, to help out with the animation that he was producing, the Mahabharata TV series at that time. But because of my attachment to my family, my work, I had to decline. And I always think about it that day, should I have accepted it, or should I have, also taken care of my family? It's a very difficult decision. But of course, the spiritual master, if you speak to your spiritual master, you speak to your spiritual authority, they could also understand your predicament. They could understand your duty, your sort of services and other commitments that you have, and they could compromise as well. So Guru Maharaj never thought ill of me at any stage, but he still encouraged me in every way, His Holiness Bhaktacharya Swami, and other services as well, which I could help him whenever he came to the UK. So I'm forever grateful to him. Okay, I'll go to the next verse. Just 2 more verses to read. Verse 55. Dharmasya samadeta lolupe vyankuses nirbi sayane tvayi lokayam dashu grasta vinakshati. Translation: if you gave up all thoughts of the world situation, unrighteousness would flourish, but men who hanker only after money would be unopposed. Such miscreants would attack, and the world would perish. Purport: because the scientific division of 4 varnas and 4 ashrams is now being extinguished, the entire world is being governed by unwanted men who have no training in religion, politics, or social order, and it is in a very deplorable condition. In this institution of 4 varnas and 4 ashrams, there are regular training principles for the different classes of men. Just as in the modern age, there is a necessity for engineers, medical practitioners, and electricians, and they are properly trained in different scientific institutions. Similarly, in former times, the higher social orders, namely the intelligent class, the Brahmanas, the ruling class, the Kshatriyas, and the mercantile class, the Vaishyas, were properly trained. Bhagavad Gita describes the duties of the Brahmanas, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Sudras. Those are the verses that Shri Kishori Mataji read earlier on. Sriji Kishori Mataji read earlier on. When there is no such training, one simply claims that because he is born in a Brahmana or Kshatriya family, he is therefore a Brahmana or a Kshatriya. Even though he performs the duties of a Shudra, such undue claims to be in higher caste span make the system of scientific social orders to a caste system, completely degrading the original system. The society is now in chaos, and there is neither peace nor prosperity. It's clearly stated herein that unless there is a vigilance of a strong king, impious and qualified men will claim a certain status in society and will make the social order perish. So I mentioned earlier on about how the ashram system is going downhill because unruly leaders, political corrupt leaders, they're modifying and simplifying the Varnashram system to suit their own needs. But even within the society, Prabhupada mentions there are different classes of men who are considered to be similar to, like, say, the intelligent classmen, ruling classmen, mercantile class. But of course, they are nowhere near as the same kind of quality or qualifications they had, say, for instance, 5,000 years ago. For instance, during the Mahabharata war, Dhritarashtra Maharaj used to actually confront Vidura, who was the prime minister, to ask him for his advice. But even though Dhritarashtra was also ignorant in a way and blind because he was always listening to Duryodhana, his cruel and corrupt son, he sort of never listened to his own brother, Vidura. Vidura advised him so many times how to sort of prevent the war from taking place. It only caused calamity. It only caused you distress, heartbreak. All your sons will be all, killed away. But still, there was a level of pride that Dhritarashtra had, a level of pride, an attachment he had for Duryodhana, his own son, that he neglected all the wise words of Vidura. So we can actually see, if you don't listen to the wise words of somebody who's properly trained, or properly administered brahmana, who's actually following the scriptures of the authorities of those at that particular time. Similarly, we follow the authorities of the scriptures. We follow the GBC. We follow our spiritual master. We follow the president, the temple commander, the Bhakta leader program, because they are our spiritual masters in a way. They're trained by their own authority to give instructions which are adherent to the principles of the scriptures of the Bhagavad Gita or the Srimad Bhagavatam. There was a particular quote by somebody I remember reading many, many years ago. It's in the daily quotes in a diary. I can't remember exactly what the name of that person was. Let's see if I've got it somewhere written down. Anyway, basically, the quote was something along the line that the reason why evil takes place is because good people don't do anything about it. Now, many of you may remember 1990s. There was a big campaign that was going on to protect the temple from being closed. There was hundreds of vigilant protests outside Hospital Council. There were big rallies, big marches. One march, in particular, 35,000 Hindus from all society joined in, from all different groups, organizations, from the Shiva Sena, from the Swaminarayan, from the Hindu Sanatana Mandir. They all came together. Why was that? Just to uphold Dharma. So it is important that if the temple is closing down, we cannot just sit by it and say, oh, Krishna's arranging it. And I do recall Akandit Prabhu, who was leading the actual campaign. Many of his own dear godbrothers and dear, I don't know about god sisters, but sadly I do recall some of them are saying, you go through so much difficulties, so much legal costs, so much battle. You're not going to win against the government. Why don't you just buy a plot of land and start a new temple? Now, Kandida Prabhu was very loyal to Srila Prabhupada, and he was very loyal to Shishirada Gokulananda. He didn't want this to take place at all. He didn't want to close the temple. The temple was a shrine for all the visitors, all the people who came to see them, the visitors itself, hundreds and thousands used to come every year. Why should he close them? And also for the visitors who came to the temple, a lot of them were coming to that process of becoming initiated as well. That was that generation where many of the people, the congregation, were getting initiated, and they were becoming very connected to the temple, participating in the morning program, the services around the temple in every different ways. And the campaign actually, they won the campaign in the end, and actually it worked out to be really fruitful, because in the end, Kandida Prabhu arranged for further land to be purchased, and from that land they were able to build a brand new beautiful Goshala. The cars could be parked on the adjacent land as well, so it wasn't congested. If you've been to the temple quite recently, or quite new to the temple, where you see the security gate, or where you see the that particular fence, that border, where the Goshala is, the new Gokul Goshala is, that was actually the border where the temple boundary was. They didn't actually have that driveway at all. That driveway came about in 1996. So those of you who did actually participate for that campaign, supported the temple in every way, financially, emotionally, through service, through campaigns, emailing or sending letters to authorities. There was the quality of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra that you all sort of participated in. So very grateful to all of you. For Srila Prabhupada would be very grateful to all of you. Text 56. Tapi prache tvam vira yadartha tvam iha gataha tadvaya nirvya ekena pati pajyamehe rida. Translation, in spite of all this, I ask you, valiant king, the purpose for which you have come here, whatever it may be, we shall carry it out without reservation. Purport. When a guest comes to a friend's house, it is understood that there is some special purpose. Kudama Muni could understand that such a great king as Swayambhuva, although traveling to inspect the condition of his kingdom, must have had some special purpose to come to his hermitage. Thus he prepared himself to fulfill the king's desires. Formerly it was customary that the sages used to go to the kings, and the kings used to visit the sages in the hermitages. Each was glad to fulfill the other's purpose. This reciprocal relationship is called Bhakti Karya. There is a nice verse describing the relationship of mutual beneficial interest between the Brahman and the Kshatriya. Kshatriya Dvijatvam. Kshatriya means the royal order, and Dvijatvam means the Brahmanical order. The two were meant for mutual interest. The royal order would give protection to the Brahmanas for the cultivation of spiritual advancement in society. The Brahmanas would give their valuable instructions to the royal order on how the state and the citizens can gradually be elevated in spiritual perfection. So here, this is a wonderful explanation by Srila Prabhupada explaining the importance of dual role between the Brahmanas and the Kshatriyas. The Brahmanas are the qualified personalities who can give advice to the Kshatriyas, and the Kshatriyas similarly give advice to the Brahmanas. So I'll just end there. Is there any questions or comments at all by anybody? Anything they wish to add? Any corrections? Okay. Okay, thank you so much, everyone, for listening, and thank you for your participation, and do forgive me if I did make any mistakes. I'll pass it on to Namrata Mataji now.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, my pranam, so glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Beautifully explained as always. Hari Bol. So Prabhuji, for today's bhajan, we have our dear Shriji Kishori Mataji, Shriji Kishori Dasi Mataji, who will be singing a beautiful bhajan, Hari Haraya Namaha. Before she does the bhajan, I just wanted to check if Orpita, you're online. No. Okay. Prabhuji, I do have the bhajan open. I can share if you want, Prabhuji.
Sure, that's fine, Mataji.
Okay. My apologies, but I think I tried calling Arpita as well, because she's not been able to join. Do I have any volunteer who would like to recite the English bhajan, please?
Hare Krishna Mataji, can I
Yes,
do the recitation?
Mataji. Hari Bol. Yes, please, Indira Mataji.
Hare Krishna, translation Hari, obeisances to Lord Hari, unto Krishna and Yadav, obeisances to Lord of the Yadavs, Madhava and Keshava. Gopala, Govinda, Rama, O Venkatesha of Madhu, Giridhari, Lord of the Gopis, bewilderer of the Cupid, Sri Chaitanya, Nityananda, Sri Advaita Sita, Hari, Guru, Vaishnava, Srimad Bhagavatam, Bhagavad Gita. All glories to Srila Rupa Goswami, Sanatan Goswami and Raghunatha Bhatta Goswami to Srila Jiva Goswami, Gopala Bhatta Goswami, and Raghunatha Dasa Goswami. I bow to the feet of these 6 Goswami. By their grace, our obstacles can be destroyed and all desires are fulfilled. I am the servant of these 6 Goswamis. The dust of their lotus feet is my 5-fold subsistence. To be a servant of their lotus feet and to reside in the company of devotees, this is my aspiration, birth after birth. When these 6 Goswamis lived in Vraja, they revealed the eternal pastimes of Sri Sri, Radha and Krishna. In the ecstasy, sing the name of Lord Hari and worship Vrindavan, joyfully fixing your mind upon the lotus feet of the bona fide spiritual master and the pure devotees. The lotus feet of my Guru and the Vaishnavas are my aspiration. Narottam Dasa thus sings Harinam Sankirtan. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji, for the opportunity.
Thank you, Mataji. All close to your service.
Hare Krishna.
Oh, Krishna.
Please accept my humble obeisances. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. This is one of my favorite bhajans called Hari Haraya Namaha. Hari Hari Haraya Namah. Hari Haraya Namah Krishna Yadavaya Namaha. Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Namah. Gopal Govinda Ram Sri Madhusudana Giridhari Gopinath Madana Mohana Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Chaitanya Nityananda Sri Advaita Sita Hari Guru Vaishnava Bhagavad Gita Sri Rupa Sanatana Bhatta Raghunatha Sri Jiva Gopala Bhatta Dasa Raghunatha Aiche Goshai Kori Charana Vandana Jaha hoite bignana sabhista purana Aiche goshai jara moi taradas Tasbara padarenu mora panchagras Tadera charana se bhi Tadera charana se bhi bhakta shane bash Janame janame hoy abhilas Aiche goshai jabe braje koila bash Radha Krishna nitya lila korila prakash Ananda bolo hari Ananda bolo hari bhaja Vrindavan Sri Guru Vaishnava pade majjaman Sri Guru Vaishnava pada padma koriyas Nama Sankirtana kohe narotamadas Hari Haraya Namah Hari Haraya Nama Krishna Yadavaya Namaha Yadavaya Madhavaya Keshavaya Nama Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Nitai Gaura Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Hari bol, Nitai Gaura Hari bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol.
Haribo, beautiful singing, Mataji.
Prabhupada ki jai, Guru
Jai.
Maharaj ki
Beautiful.
jai. Hare
Hari
Krishna.
Bol.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. So beautifully sung. Thank you so much, Vijay Kishore Mataji, as always.
All
Thank you,
glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, everyone. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.
Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
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 Panchakapatarubhyascha
Krishna Kripa Sindhubhya eva cha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Ananta Koti Vaishnavrinda ki jai.
Jai.